Welcome to Afterlife Message, where we explore incredible stories of second chances, the afterlife, and the mysteries beyond. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and click the bell icon so you never miss a moment of these fascinating journeys. Let us begin the discussion.
Today we're diving into a woman's experience as she navigated a sudden medical crisis and the profound spiritual experience that emerged during her recovery.
It really makes you think about the resilience of the human spirit and how powerful spiritual awakenings can be when life throws you a curveball.
Absolutely. And her story starts on a seemingly ordinary weekend, just a normal day out shopping with her daughter, and things take an unexpected turn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She started noticing strange physical sensations like a heaviness in her right leg, almost tripping over her own foot.
I can only imagine.
She initially brushed it off, thinking it was just fatigue, but the feeling lingered.
It's fascinating how she describes this inner struggle. She could feel her leg becoming difficult to control, but there was this resistance to accepting that something could be seriously wrong.
Right. It's a common reaction, I think. This initial denial, especially when confronted with a health scare that seemingly comes out of nowhere.
Definitely.
And to add to the emotional weight of the situation, her husband was already at a different hospital dealing with a family emergency of his own.
Oh, no.
His mother had been admitted with a serious medical condition. So she was carrying the burden of his worry on top of everything else.
It's so important to consider that emotional backdrop. I mean, she was already in a state of heightened stress and concern when her own symptoms started to appear.
Exactly.
And that underlying anxiety can sometimes amplify our perception of physical sensations. It can make it even harder to figure out what's truly happening in our bodies.
That's a really good point. As she continued shopping, the symptoms intensified. Her brain felt scrambled. She had trouble getting her cards out of her wallet, and that's when the thought of a stroke first crossed her mind.
But she couldn't believe it could be happening to her.
Exactly. It's like it was just so unexpected.
This is where we see that common misconception about strokes, that it only affects older people.
Right.
While stroke risk does increase with age, it can happen at any point in life. And in fact, we're seeing a growing number of younger people experiencing strokes. So this case really highlights the importance of recognizing the signs no matter how old you are.
Absolutely. And for those who might not be familiar, a stroke, sometimes called a brain attack, occurs when blood flow to an area of the brain is cut off.
Right.
This deprives brain cells of oxygen and nutrients, leading to damage or even cell death.
Exactly.
And the effects of a stroke can vary widely depending on the area of the brain affected and the severity of the blockage.
Exactly. And in the woman's story, she was experiencing what's called a transient ischemic attack, or TIA, often referred to as a mini stroke.
Okay.
In a TIA, the blockage is temporary, and symptoms typically resolve within 24 hours.
Yeah.
However, a TIA is a serious warning sign, indicating an increased risk of a full-blown stroke in the future.
So it's definitely not something to ignore.
Absolutely not.
So while she initially tried to downplay her symptoms, she ultimately decided to have her daughter drive her home.
Okay.
And on the way, her husband called, urging her to go to the hospital. But she was still feeling uncertain, almost hesitant to go to the ER for something that might turn out to be nothing.
I can understand that hesitation. There's often a fear of overreacting, of being seen as dramatic or a burden to the medical system.
Right.
But when it comes to potential neurological events, it's always better to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely.
Time is of the essence in stroke treatment, and seeking medical attention promptly can make a huge difference in terms of outcomes.
So she arrived at the hospital, still unsure of what was happening, but deep down sensing that something was wrong. As she was being evaluated, her right side began to weaken and she started experiencing seizures.
Oh, wow.
The medical team immediately recognized the severity of the situation and rushed her in for a CT scan.
That rapid response is crucial in stroke care. The sooner a diagnosis is confirmed and treatment initiated, the better the chances of minimizing damage. Imaging tests like a CT scan allow doctors to visualize the brain and pinpoint the location and extent of any blockage or bleeding.
And the CT scan revealed that she had indeed experienced a TIA.
But it also showed something unexpected, a lesion in her brain.
Right. This added another layer of complexity to her diagnosis and raised concerns about potential underlying health issues.
Definitely. A lesion refers to an area of abnormal tissue in the brain, often caused by damage or disease.
Right.
Lesions can be caused by a variety of factors, including infections, inflammation, or even tumors.
So in this case, the discovery of the lesion prompted further investigation to determine its cause and potential implications for her long-term health.
Exactly.
So now, on top of dealing with the immediate effects of the TIA, she was facing the uncertainty of this brain lesion.
That's a lot to process, especially with her husband at another hospital caring for his ailing mother.
It really is. And it's important to acknowledge the psychological impact of such a diagnosis.
Absolutely.
The fear of the unknown, the potential for long-term disability, the disruption to her life, these anxieties can be overwhelming.
For sure.
The doctors started her on medication to help dissolve any potential clots and improve blood flow, hoping to minimize the damage from the TIA. However, because it was a long holiday weekend, she had to wait until the next available day for an MRI to assess the full extent of the stroke's impact.
That waiting period can be incredibly stressful.
Right.
You know, that sense of limbo while facing a potentially life-altering diagnosis. It's a time when anxieties can really spiral and the mind can race with all sorts of worst-case scenarios.
It's true. Spending a night in the ER is never easy, but for someone in her condition, it must have been incredibly difficult.
Absolutely.
The constant noise, the unfamiliar environment, the awareness of other people's emergencies happening all around. It's not exactly conducive to rest and healing.
The hospital environment, while necessary for medical care, can sometimes feel chaotic and overwhelming, especially for someone who is already vulnerable and facing health anxieties.
And as if the situation wasn't already difficult enough, her ordeal was far from over.
Oh no. What happened?
On the second day in the hospital, she experienced another stroke. This one even more severe than the first.
That's terrifying. This turn of events really highlights the unpredictable nature of stroke and the importance of ongoing medical monitoring even after an initial TIA. Her case underscores the need for vigilance and proactive care when it comes to neurological events.
It's a powerful reminder that things can change so quickly and that we need to be advocates for our own health.
Absolutely. We have to listen to our bodies and seek help when something doesn't feel right.
And on that note, we'll delve deeper into the next phase of her journey and the remarkable turn it takes in our next segment.
I can't wait to hear what happens next.
Stay tuned.
Okay. This second stroke, it brought on this terrifying feeling. Her right side started shutting down like a creeping paralysis, and the doctors were puzzled because she didn't fit the typical stroke risk profile.
Really?
Yeah, she was actively managing her health through diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. So it's a reminder that strokes can affect anyone, regardless of their overall health.
It must have been incredibly frightening to experience that loss of control over her own body, especially while already in such a vulnerable state.
Absolutely. And it's in these moments of crisis that our deepest fears and anxieties can really surface.
Right. It's like everything you've been trying to avoid suddenly becomes a reality.
Exactly. And it's also in these moments that our inner strength, our resilience is truly tested.
So how did she cope with that fear?
Well, she described feeling her strength fading, like this sense of fear just gripping her heart. But then she made a conscious decision, a choice, to reject that fear. And in that act of defiance, she felt the fear physically lift from the room.
Wow, that's a powerful image, the embodiment of fear leaving her presence.
It really is.
It speaks to the idea that we have more agency over our emotional state than we often realize, that we can choose to confront our fears and refuse to let them consume us.
Exactly. It's a remarkable testament to the strength of the human spirit, this ability to find resolve even in the darkest of moments.
So what happened after she made that choice to reject fear?
Well, shortly after, she felt a surge of strength returning to her right side.
That's incredible. This sudden shift, this influx of strength, is where her story takes on a more spiritual dimension, right?
Exactly. She attributes the surge to the prayers of her loved ones who had been alerted to her deteriorating condition.
It's like a collective energy of love and support.
Exactly. They had gathered surrounding her with their love and faith, creating this powerful, energetic field.
So you're saying there's a connection between their prayers and her physical recovery?
Well, it's a beautiful illustration of the interconnectedness of human consciousness and the potential for collective prayer to create tangible change. Whether one interprets this as divine intervention or the power of collective intention, there's an undeniable force at play, something that transcends the purely physical realm.
It's fascinating to consider those possibilities. And this is where her journey transitions from a medical narrative to a profound spiritual encounter.
Yeah. Exactly. On Halloween night, while still in the hospital, she had to get up to use the bathroom in the early morning hours. As she was walking back to bed, her strength completely gave out and she collapsed.
Oh, no.
She managed to hold on to her walker, preventing a hard fall, but she was stranded, unable to move.
So what happened?
Fortunately, a nurse happened to pass by and saw her frozen in place, unable to call for help.
I was lucky.
Once back in bed, she began experiencing violent seizures.
Oh my goodness.
The nurses rushed to get help, but by the time they returned, the seizures had subsided and they left her to rest.
It must have been a terrifying experience.
It was during this time in the stillness of the hospital room that something extraordinary happened.
What happened?
Well, she found herself in a state of heightened vulnerability, missing her mother, who had passed away just a few months earlier.
That makes sense. It's like grief and fear can really amplify in moments of weakness.
Exactly. As she lay there, longing for her mother's presence, she wished she could see her again, even if it was just a vision, a dream. And it was in that moment of yearning that she felt a presence enter the room, a presence she identified as Jesus. Her heart rate slowed, her breathing calmed, and everything seemed to come to a standstill.
Like time stopped.
Exactly. Time seemed to dissolve, creating a space for this sacred encounter to unfold. It's important to note that she was a devout believer, so her faith played a significant role in shaping her perception of this experience.
Of course. So what happened next?
She felt an immediate connection with Jesus, as if they had a pre-existing relationship, a familiarity that transcended words, and then he spoke to her, offering her a choice.
A choice?
He asked if she wanted to see her mother or if she wanted to see him.
That's a profound moment to be given such a choice, to reunite with a departed loved one, or to stand in the presence of the divine.
It speaks to the depth of our human longings, the yearning for connection that extends beyond the physical realm.
So what did she choose?
She chose Jesus, and as she made that decision, she felt her spirit begin to separate from her body. She described it as a sensation of lifting, of weightlessness, of entering a space of serene blue, the color of a cornflower sky.
That's beautiful imagery. So it was like a classic near-death experience with a tunnel and a bright light.
Not exactly. It wasn't the classic tunnel experience that's often described in near-death accounts. This was a transition into a realm of profound peace and stillness, a space of pure consciousness where she was united with Jesus.
Okay, so they were together in this blue space.
They were in this circular space of blue, which she perceived as having a translucent quality like water, though she knew it wasn't actually liquid. It was a unique and indescribable experience beyond the limitations of human language.
It sounds like it.
And then Jesus asked her another profound question. Do you want to go? He asked. He was offering her a choice to stay on earth or to enter eternity with him.
Imagine the weight of that decision to choose between the familiar life she knew and the unknown mysteries of the afterlife.
It's a decision that most of us will never have to face.
What did she decide?
She felt the immense pull of eternity, the allure of transcending the limitations of the physical world, but something held her back, a powerful force that rooted her to this earthly existence.
What was it that kept her here?
It was the love for her daughter and husband that ultimately swayed her decision. She couldn't bear the thought of leaving them behind, of causing them further pain and heartache.
It's a testament to the enduring power of love, even in the face of death. Her story suggests that our earthly bonds, the love we share with those we cherish, can serve as a powerful anchor, keeping us tethered to this life, even when faced with the allure of the eternal.
It's a beautiful thought, but her experience in the spiritual realm wasn't over yet. While still aware of being in her hospital bed, she began to hear the sound of rushing water, a sound so vivid and real that it seemed to envelop her.
That's interesting. She must have thought there was a leak or something.
Well, she initially thought it might be a shower running or water flowing through the hospital pipes, but the sound was all around her as if she were immersed in a rushing river.
That's so strange. It's like her perception was shifting between the physical and the spiritual.
Exactly. And she noticed that the hospital had grown quiet. All the usual beeping and bustling had ceased, replaced by a profound stillness.
Like the world was holding its breath.
It was just her Jesus and the sound of rushing water.
So what did she make of this strange experience?
She asked Jesus what it all meant, and his reply was simple yet profound. "You are in the river," he said, "and I am healing you."
Wow. So the rushing water was a symbol of healing.
Exactly. She could feel the healing taking place within her body. And she recalled a verse from Revelation 22, which speaks of the river of the water of life flowing from the throne of God with trees lining its banks whose leaves are for the healing of the nations.
It's incredible how her experience aligned with this biblical imagery.
It really is. She was in this river surrounded by trees, feeling the presence of Jesus and the flow of healing energy. It's as if her subconscious mind was drawing upon these ancient symbols to make sense of this profound spiritual encounter.
That's fascinating. It's like her mind was trying to create a framework for understanding something that was beyond human comprehension.
Exactly. She was aware of a city in the distance glowing in golden, which she understood to be the city of God.
Oh.
The river flowed from the east from this divine city, and she was being bathed in its healing waters.
This experience was so vivid, so real, that it felt more tangible than her earthly reality. It was a glimpse into another dimension, a realm of spiritual healing and divine presence, a place where the boundaries between the physical and the metaphysical seemed to dissolve.
Eventually, she felt herself being drawn back to her body, back to the hospital room. The experience faded, but its impact would stay with her forever.
That's amazing. So what happened when she returned to her physical reality?
Well, she continued to recover in the hospital, and in the days that followed, she noticed something remarkable about her healing process.
What was it?
It was happening at an accelerated pace. She was regaining strength and function much faster than the doctors expected.
It sounds like a miracle.
In fact, they were astonished by her progress. She was sharing a ward with women who had been there for weeks or even months, still struggling with basic tasks like eating and walking. And here she was, up and moving around with her walker just days after her strokes and this profound spiritual experience. It seemed as if something had shifted within her, igniting a powerful healing force.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
So do you think her spiritual experience played a role in her rapid recovery?
It's certainly possible. I mean, the mind-body connection is a powerful thing, and her experience suggests that the spirit can play a profound role in influencing the physical body.
So on day 10, she was discharged from the hospital, right?
Yes. But before leaving, she had one important question for the doctors. She wanted to know what had happened to the brain lesion they had discovered on the initial CT scan.
Oh, right. I forgot about that lesion. What did the doctors say?
Remember that lesion was a completely separate issue from the strokes. It was located in a different part of her brain and had been causing her some concern. When she asked the doctor about it, the doctor seemed almost perplexed. She said that the lesion didn't appear to be there anymore. They couldn't find it on any of the subsequent scans.
It had vanished.
Just like that.
Right.
And she attributed this miraculous healing to the power of prayer, the love of God, and the profound spiritual experience she had in the hospital.
It's incredible to think that something so profound could happen in the midst of such a difficult situation.
It really is. Her story is a powerful testament to the power of faith and the possibility of healing, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. It challenges us to consider what might lie beyond our everyday perception, to explore the mysteries of consciousness and the interplay of mind, body, and spirit.
So do you think her story offers any insights for those of us who might not have had such a dramatic spiritual experience?
Absolutely. Her experience reminds us that even in the midst of suffering and uncertainty, there is always the potential for healing, for transformation, for a deeper connection to something greater than ourselves. It invites us to consider how facing our own mortality might shift our priorities and perspectives.
That's a powerful message. And it makes you wonder if there are subtle realms of healing and connection that we're only just beginning to understand.
It's certainly a possibility that's worth exploring. It's like she was touched by a force beyond our current scientific understanding, a force that has the potential to rewrite our very biology. Her story really invites us to consider the possibilities that might exist beyond the realm of conventional medicine and the known laws of nature.
It's truly mind-boggling. And it makes you wonder if we're just scratching the surface of what's truly possible when it comes to healing and recovery.
Absolutely. Her experience suggests that the spirit can play a profound role in influencing the physical body. It challenges us to expand our definition of what's possible.
So months after her hospital stay while reading the Bible, she came across a passage in Ezekiel 43 that deeply resonated with her near-death experience.
Oh, wow. What did it say?
It described the glory of God coming from the east, accompanied by a sound like the roar of rushing waters.
That's incredible. It's as if her experience was being validated, mirrored in these ancient scriptures. The rushing waters, the divine presence, the healing energy, it all aligns with the prophet Ezekiel's vision.
It's really quite remarkable. This connection to ancient wisdom traditions, to spiritual experiences documented throughout history, adds another layer of depth to her story. It suggests that these types of encounters, these glimpses into other realms, are not isolated incidents, but rather part of a larger tapestry of human experience.
It's a beautiful thought that we're all connected in ways we might not even be aware of.
And her story is such a powerful testament to the transformative power of such experiences. She emerged from this ordeal with a profound sense of gratitude, not just for her physical recovery, but for the glimpse into a reality that transcends our everyday perception.
It's like she was given a second chance and a new perspective on life.
Exactly. She went from facing the fear of disability to experiencing a miraculous healing. And this spiritual encounter seems to have played a pivotal role in that transformation, shifting her perspective from one of fear and uncertainty to one of hope and faith.
It's inspiring to see how she turned such a challenging experience into something positive and empowering.
It's true. It's important to acknowledge that not everyone who experiences a stroke or a near-death event has this kind of spiritual awakening.
Right.
But her story offers a perspective that many might find comforting or inspiring, especially those facing their own health challenges or grappling with questions of faith and mortality.
It reminds us that there's always hope, even in the darkest of times.
And that perhaps there's more to life than meets the eye.
Exactly. Her experience reminds us that even in the midst of suffering and uncertainty, there is always the potential for healing, for transformation, for a deeper connection to something greater than ourselves. It invites us to consider how facing our own mortality might shift our priorities and perspectives.
It's a profound question to ponder. Could it lead us to a deeper appreciation for life, a stronger connection to our faith, or a greater sense of purpose?
It's definitely something worth exploring.
Well, her story is a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that there might be dimensions of reality far more wondrous and mysterious than we can currently imagine.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of one woman's remarkable journey through illness, healing, and spiritual awakening. We hope her story has left you with a sense of wonder and a renewed appreciation for the mysteries of life and the boundless potential of the human spirit.
It's been a fascinating discussion, and we hope our listeners have found it as thought-provoking as we have.
Until next time.
Take care.